Thank you. Do send your questions in so you don't have to listen to the ones that I make up, right? I'm not even sure what "should we succumb to the algorithms" means, but I don't know, Simon. You're probably the best place to answer that, right?
I didn't see the question.
Oh, sorry. Should we all just succumb to the algorithms?
Sure, why not? I think it can be overwhelming, right? The rate of advancement, the rate of change, and so I do think sort of. I think Terry was talking about before lunch the amount of medical research people have to come up follow. I think it's something similar in AI and just the sheer number of algorithms. But I do think there are things that we can hold on to, sort of like the future that we want to see, and a fundamental belief in terms of that this technology can be used for good. But I think the other thing too is that as we open Pandora's box and more technologies, we have to be going into those with eyes wide open, because I think we've made mistakes and I think we can do better.
Fantastic. Brenton assumed that I was going to ask him that question, so maybe he's got an answer ready to go.
Well, I was actually going to echo just what Simon said. I think we're in control of what we're doing with the AI, and what you're targeting it at. So no, not really succumbing to the algorithms. I wouldn't say. Maybe directing the algorithms.
Fantastic. I think all three of those talks demonstrate that we can do it here in South Australia with a global market. I think, maybe Brenton, yours is the most obvious example of going after that. What's the secret to your success anyway?
Well, I mean, we've been I think I've previously described ourselves either as a tart for grant money or a poster child for Australians' innovation system. And I'll lean towards the second, but a little bit of history on Fivecast is that we were spun out of a cooperative research centre, and then after that we got a small $50,000 grant from the South Australian government to help sort of international expansion. So we were born with a focus on the international market. We've had a Commercialisation Australia grant, export market development grants, R&D tax offsets. But aside from that, we are employing 65 Australians down here in Kent Town. And so, yeah, absolutely can do it here, but I think you have to look global from the very beginning.
Absolutely. And there are some great grants here, but really, compared to what happens in Israel, if you're roughly vertical and have half a startup idea, they will give you a grant to start your company in Israel, right? The process is very different to what's here. They also focus on what they're good at, not in picking winners with startups, but in backing technology, right? It's and it's globally focused from the beginning. It's a very good model. All right. I can't believe that ML's not already in the high school curriculum, but then I'm biased, right? So. But Seth, maybe what changes do we need to see to further AI adoption?
In terms of what changes that we need to see, I think for us it's really, we're still focusing, our biggest bottleneck to business growth is nothing new in every business, it's the talent pipeline. And so for businesses have to take responsibility for that and not expect that to be solved outside. And we're doing that in terms of building out training programs and rethinking about who we recruit, whether it be aero engineers, mathematicians, then retraining them to be data scientists. And the question was about machine. Can you repeat the question in terms of where was it going again?
What do we need to do to increase adoption?
Increasing adoption. Well, I think it's actually just happening anyway. I think that's just that there's a pessimistic view, but I have the optimistic view that it's happening all the time. And usually when it's not happening fast, there's a whole bunch of things that are not transparent to people because there are ecosystem issues, and I think you can all, when we look at every presentation here, one of the biggest issues is the generation of the data sets and getting a real high resolution of data collection. That's just a major ecosystem issue. There's a lot of investment that's happening into that space all the time because we want to get to the prediction, and then we work backwards from the business problem and realize we don't have any data, so we start creating data, and eventually we will get there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Simon, how do we address the skills gap in South Australia?
I think from the bottom up and top down. I think from the bottom up, I think AI and ML is more than just computer literacy. That's one thing I've been actually shocked by coming back to Australia. I think in the university sector, it seems that AI is associated with IT and programming. The rest of the world doesn't view AI that way. AI is a fundamentally mathematical endeavor. We kind of joked at CMU, AI innovation starts on the whiteboard, not the keyboard. We have to fundamentally be getting the mathematical skills of our children improved and and driving that forward. And AI goes hand in hand with that. Sometimes a lot of maths can be esoteric, but seeing how AI connects to maths gives some children some examples of where to go. From the top down, I think we need to be celebrating more AI rock stars. I think my kids went to a US school for a number of years. Everyone wanted to be Elon Musk. Everyone wanted to be the next CEO of Google. Everyone here wants to be a dentist or an accountant, which is fine. But we don't have, it's good, I need my teeth looked after. We need to be celebrating those successes and giving examples, so things like Atlassian and kind of real examples of where Australia's really excelled, so that kids can get excited. And at the end of the day, this stuff should be fun. It's not about making money. I mean, it is, but it's not always about making money. But it's about, if you ask a lot of the people that have done startups, and it's about a passion, right? And it's about tapping into that passion, and good educational outcomes always are connected to passion. So, yeah.
Fantastic. It amazes me that I stand up in front of people all the time and say that with a PhD in machine learning, you can go and live in any country in the world you want to. You can get a job in any industry that you want to. If you want to work in climate change or preventing human trafficking or in agriculture, then go and get a PhD in machine learning, because if you want to work in agriculture, you'll be one of the 3 people working in agriculture with a PhD in machine learning. Right? But I haven't actually even been able to convince my children of that, so it's no real surprise that no one else is listening to me. So we have Spotify choosing our musics, Netflix choosing what we watch, and Facebook feeding us our information. Are we in danger of losing diversity in our community is the question. Anyone?
Well, I'd just say I'm always optimistic about this. These things, they go in a direction, and then people realise there's a bias, and there are other forces that then start to correct these biases. Whether it be, and sometimes there might be great division initially, which was what we've seen politically in the US, but then sometimes that division starts to converge and we all start to become reasonable again. But that's just my optimistic view.
I guess I'm coming out from a defence and national security perspective, and this is a very hot topic around misinformation and disinformation. And it is exacerbated by the focus on select platforms and the algorithms that power those platforms, and also to be honest, it's not gone unnoticed by the defence and intelligence agencies as how to weaponise these things. So it's a very big concern and something that Australia is thinking about very hard. Whether there's an answer to it quickly, I'm not sure. There's some quite difficult problems to solve with those the concentration of media powers.
There's certainly an argument that Facebook should be censoring what we see, right? That we shouldn't be allowed. Brenton and I did work years ago on recognising some content in some particularly horrific images, and the gear that's out there really is absolutely shocking, and there has to be some censorship there. But I think that it's a long way from that to saying that we want Mark Zuckerberg in front, making the decision about all the information that we get, particularly as an Australian nation. It's a really complicated question, and one that I don't think knee-jerk reactions are going to help with.
Well, I was just going to add too, I think, I know I keep sounding on like a broken record, but sort of innovation in this space is sort of key too, because I think at the moment, if you want to do anything with your data, you have to have some sort of in-house AI capability a lot of the time, because like if you're worried about your data or protecting data. So I think also sort of arming people with the ability to better hold on to their data, because oftentimes like sort of when data goes into a network, once it's in the network, it's gone. It's subsumed in there. So basically kind of traceability of data, I think that's a key thing, because at the moment we don't know where our data is going and who's using it. And sort of connecting those things, because it's sort of like if you're going to come up with the best way of anonymizing data, sort of AI is it, because once it's a neural weight, it's sort of gone. And so connecting those things together and giving Australians the ability to control data, I think that's something that we should be really focusing on.
And so that question, are we in danger of losing diversity? And creativity. I don't think either of those things are true. I think we might be in danger of losing community, not diversity. The filter bubble that increasingly forms around us enables very small communities of people to find each other, and that has some advantages, obviously, but has some pretty serious disadvantages as well, particularly if there's no visibility of what's going on. It's easier than ever to make music, make art, make whatever you want, right? We're taking the craft out a lot of that process. So, you can download an app that will turn your photos into quite good-looking pieces of art, and it makes that creativity more accessible than it's ever been. But there is really a question about what that means for the future of our communication. People make a lot of noise about deepfakes. Deepfakes aren't new, right? We've had a CG industry for 40 years, right? Rising Sun have been down on Pulteney Street making deepfakes for a very long time, right? All you needed to do was take them $100,000 and they would make you a deepfake. The question isn't about the ability, it's about about the barrier to entry. And we need to find a way to evolve with that, as far as I'm concerned. There's certainly some challenges ahead, and if we're going to participate, then we need to be take an active role in this space, rather than just waiting to see what Facebook dial up next for us. All right, please join me in, as always, I'm just grandstanding, right? The only reason I take on the role is so I can tell you what I think. But thank the panel with me. Much appreciated.